Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Jeffrey Epstein Show. I'm your host, Bobbycapucci, and this is another episode of the evolution of the Epstein Chronicles. Today, we're going to warm up the trusty time machine, and we're going to go back to 2011. In 2011, the Daily Beast had an article that had to do with some of the people that were hanging out with Jeffrey Epstein after the fact of him being convicted of the first offense. So I'm not going to get too long-winded here with a monologue. We're going to jump right into it today. So if you would like to contact me, you can do that at bobbycapucci@protonmail.com. That's BOBBYCAPUCCI at protonmail.com. All right, let's jump right into this article today, folks. All right, let's see what we got going on. Like I said, it's from the Daily Beast. It's from 2011. And the headline is, Katie Couric, Woody Allen, Jeffrey Epstein society friends close ranks. That doesn't sound sinister or anything, huh? His society friends close ranks. Sounds like enablers, huh? Sounds like a bunch of people that knew what he was doing and didn't care. All right. On the evening of December 2nd, 2010, a handful of America's media and entertainment elite, including TV anchors Katie Couric and George Stephanopoulos, comedian Chelsea Handler, the director Woody Allen, convened around the dinner table of convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein. It wasn't just any dining room, but part of a sprawling 9-story townhouse that once housed an entire preparatory school. And it wasn't just any sex offender, but an enigmatic billionaire who had once flown the likes of former President Bill Clinton and former Israeli Prime Minister Ehud Barak around the world on his own Boeing 727. Last spring, Epstein completed a 13-month sentence for soliciting prostitution from a minor in Palm Beach. Now he was hosting a party for his close friend, Britain's Prince Andrew, fourth in line to the crown. And remember, Prince Andrew said, "Oh, that wasn't my party. That had nothing to do with me. I was just invited to that party." Yeah, wrong. When a photo later surfaced of the two men walking in Central Park that weekend, the British press seized on the story, spinning out weeks of headlines about the 16-year relationship between Epstein and Andrew, with salacious details of underage masseuses and even a cozy weekend in Balmoral. Members of Parliament began calling for Prince Andrew's resignation as Britain's trade envoy, and when another photo surfaced of Andrew and 17-year-old Virginia Roberts that Epstein had allegedly loaned to him splashed across the London tabloids, even Britain's business secretary couldn't confirm the royal could keep his role. So think about that. Back in 2011, the pictures enough got him to, the trade envoy role, that was gone. He was no longer allowed to hang out with Epstein, obviously. And he suffered a bit of, embarrassment in the public. Now, fast forward to today. Fast forward to what has been accomplished with someone like Prince Andrew, how he's been taken off the front line of whatever he was involved in. I'm sure he's not hanging out with any underage masseuses anymore, folks. All right? I'm sure he's sitting around wherever he's living and he's sweating. But the uproar over the Prince and the Perv, as the British headline screamed, mysteriously drowned in the mid-Atlantic. New Yorkers barely batted an eyebrow about the scandal mongering across the pond. A jail sentence doesn't matter anymore, says David Patrick Columbia, founder of New York Social Diary. The only thing that gets you shunned in New York society is poverty. Think about that for a minute, folks. Think about that. These are the people that are supposed to lead us. These are the oh-so-powerful progressive movement from the coast that's going to get rid of the most evil Donald Trump. Yeah, right. They're just as evil. They just happen to be the heroes in their own story. In the Midwest, where I am from, he would be a social pariah, says Lorna Brett Howard, a political activist, wife of Irving Post Capital CEO and Aeropostale director John Howard. What I see here is if you have big money or you are famous, then you get a pass. A jail sentence doesn't matter anymore. The only thing that gets you shunned in New York City is poverty. Sure enough, that December night, no one mentioned that their handsome host, a gray-haired 58-year-old financier, pedophile, with tan skin and a joker smile, had just doled out millions of dollars in civil settlements to 7 girls who alleged that he paid them to perform erotic massages and demeaning sexual acts when they were underage. They are among the 40 victims turned up by an FBI investigation. But at the time, this particular swath of Epstein's elite Rolodex had no idea that the fated royal would soon renounce Epstein as a friend, nor that the royal's ex-wife, Duchess of York, Sarah Ferguson, would hysterically apologize for letting Epstein pay off some of her debts. Big difference now, huh? Fergie's out there talking all sorts of nonsense that this is all lies, etc., etc. I wonder why. I wonder what she has invested in this whole entire situation to say it's lies. No, back then Epstein was mid-makeover. He had monarchy in-house and famous faces at his table. Again, enabling him, okay? These people that came to his house after the fact, talk about enablers of the highest order. Former Bear Stearns CEO James Kane had just endorsed Epstein on his Science Foundation's website, which has been since removed. Shocking, huh? They scrubbed it. You didn't want anybody to know you had ties to the pedophile? Newsflash, dude. We all know already. You're in an age where everything's screenshot, everything's kept, everything's stored. Anything you say on the internet, somebody, somewhere, has it. It seemed Epstein had joined the ranks of former President Clinton, director Roman Polanski, and former New York Governor Eliot Spitzer, whose sex scandals faded in comparison with their celebrity. The conventional wisdom among his friends was that Epstein has been victimized by greedy, morally dubious teenage girls and unscrupulous lawyers. Right? This is what they think. Epstein's friends, huh? So is that Katie Couric? Is that what she thinks? Has anyone asked her on record? How about George Stephanopoulos, the guy that, the ABC's top dog, their top newscast guy? Could he be the reason that ABC quashed Robach's story? What did you know, Mr. Stephanopoulos? And when did you know it? Don't people like to ask that question? Isn't that one of their favorite questions in the media? I've never condoned paying for sex, but if the young lady lied about her age, it's her own fault, explained one socialite, who along with hedge fund manager Wilbur Ross and real estate magnate Leon Black hobnobbed with Epstein at a Southampton movie screening just 2 months after his release from community control in Florida. Let me read that again for you folks, all right? I've never condoned paying for sex, but if the young lady lied about her age, it's her own fault. Now, I'm a big Game of Thrones fan, and Eddard Stark used to say, everything that comes before the word but is shit. And that definitely falls into the case here. Whoever this socialite is who said this should be ashamed of themselves, and they should be outed because they enabled this man's behavior. Much of Epstein's entree into New York society can be credited to Ghislaine Maxwell, the superbly well-connected daughter of the late press magnate Robert Maxwell. Epstein started dating her in the 1990s. The romantic relationship ended after a few years, but they have remained close ever since. That is such an understatement. Last week, 2 victims publicly alleged that Ghislaine Maxwell procured them for Epstein, one at age 15 from a Mar-a-Lago country club locker room. Virginia Roberts, now 27, who was Epstein's sexual plaything for several years, told the Mail on Sunday. Ghislaine sent me to a dentist to have my teeth whitened, and I went for Brazilian waxes. He wanted me to look pre-pubescent. Boy, this guy. Now, New York friends are suddenly hesitant to talk about Maxwell. She's a high-end fixer, and so what, they ask. No one in cafe society gives a damn that a 15-year-old girl gives massages, says one frequent charity benefit guest. Oh, that's nice. But I bet you're running around, you're at some charity, and you're acting like you're the king of the world because you donated some money. But in reality, how you really feel is that nobody cares about a 15-year-old girl who was given massages. Meanwhile, you're not supposed to legally be able to give massages until you're 18 with a high school diploma, but here they are. Protecting Epstein, giving him his due. This is how gross these people are, folks. This is how gross these people are. She gets people into parties and runs around for a lot of people. As the fallout from her association with Epstein, he says, if you're Mike Huckabee, it would matter, but not if you're Ghislaine Maxwell. Ay. The crowd at the event's top publicist Peggy Siegel has organized for Epstein proves the point, at least behind closed doors. I and many others that know him describe him as brilliant, says Siegel. His unique mind is what attracts the world's smartest people to him. No, wrong, it's his money and the idea that they can privately get down with some girls. These nerds, these nerdy-ass academics, we all know the deal, right? We know the deal with these people. And these people are coming to Jeffrey Epstein, and not only are they going to party, well, Epstein's letting them, explore whatever proclivities they might have with these beautiful young ladies. Last September, with Siegel's help, Epstein hosted a breakfast after Yom Kippur. A group of 120 friends brought their children over for a buffet dinner. One attendee, Jonathan Farkas, a New York real estate heir, has known Epstein for 35 years and visited him while he was in prison. The side I've been reading about is a side I don't know, he says. Farkas considers Epstein one of the smartest people he knows and often asks him for investment advice. Unless I've seen it, I don't focus on it, he says. That's nice. That's real nice. Bring your children over there. What if it was your kids? So you're comfortable enough with Epstein that you're going to let your children be with him alone? Because if that's not the case, if you won't let your own children be with him alone, why do you think it's okay for these girls to be with him alone? From a cerebral and business side, he's worshipped, says socialite Debbie Bancroft. He's incredibly charming and handsome. He's an extraordinary package, so I can see why people don't want to believe what they hear. If people come out of jail and are still successful, people are very forgiving, shockingly so. Well, not me. I don't really care, honestly, and it depends on what you went to jail for. If you went to jail for financial crimes, look, I can forgive you. You might have made some mistakes. It happens. If you went to jail because you're trafficking women and abusing children, you should be chemically castrated and buried underneath the jail. Renowned scientists whose research Epstein has generously funded through the years also stand by him. Professor Lawrence Krauss, a theoretical physicist and author of Quantum Man, has planned scientific conferences with Epstein in St. Thomas and remained close with him throughout his incarceration. If anything, the unfortunate period he suffered has caused him to really think about what he wants to do with his money and his time, and support knowledge, said Krauss. Jeffrey has surrounded himself with beautiful women and young women, but they're not as young as the ones that were claimed. As a scientist, here you go. Here's his qualifying statement, right? Like, being a scientist, it makes you an expert on underage girls. As a scientist, I always judge things on empirical evidence, and he always has women ages 19 to 23 around him, so you checked their IDs and knew they were 19 or 23, but the other girls, nah, I never looked at their IDs. But I've never seen anything else. So as a scientist, again, the qualifying statement, listen to me, I'm smarter than you. That's what that statement means. My presumption, there you go, you're presuming, means you don't know anything, is that whatever the problems were, I would believe him over other people. Because you're a jackass, Mr. Krauss. Because you're also an abuser. Another man who's facing his own charges. Shocking that he closed his ranks around Jeffrey Epstein. Though colleagues have criticized him over his relationship with Epstein, Krauss insists, I don't feel tarnished in any way by my relationship with Jeffrey. I feel raised by it. You feel raised by it? You feel raised by your relationship with Jeffrey Epstein? Really, Mr. Krauss? And then we do now is we come back and we listen to their denials now, right? All these people with their denials in the present day. But back then, they were singing a whole different tune, weren't they? They knew what he was. They knew who he was. They knew what he was up to. And they did not care. Remember, this is all the legacy media folks, the Katie Courics of the world, the Mike Wallaces of the world, the George Stephanopoulos of the world. And if you think it was just them and it wasn't their bosses and these board members, you have another thing coming. All of these MFers are devious, sick bastards. And look, I'm not saying that all of these people engaged in the sexual abuse of these girls. No, that's not what I'm saying. Don't misconstrue it. But what I am saying is, they were enabling Jeffrey Epstein's behavior by giving him credibility by hanging out with him. You know, people see Jeffrey Epstein with these high society figures, and it's hard for people to believe that he would be doing what he's doing. Well, how many of the girls have said that? But here we are at this point. We all know the facts. We all know that he was using these people around him to build his own credibility so that in turn he could abuse these girls easier and with less effort and with less fear that there's going to be blowback. Because who wants to go to the police if you think Bill Clinton's going to step in for the person who abused you or Alan Dershowitz is his lawyer? Who's going to want to bring that up? Especially one of these young, vulnerable girls who already come from broken homes and have nothing. Their extent of the knowledge of the law is what they saw in Law and Order, I bet. Right? It's not like any of these girls are sitting around reading case studies. They were 14, 15, 16 years old. They wanted to go to the mall. They wanted to get some clothes. They wanted to maybe go to a concert or go on a little vacation with their friends. What they didn't want was to be molested by Jeffrey goddamn Epstein. And what makes it worse and what is more disgusting is the way he was protected and enabled by these people. There you have it, folks. That's our latest installment of the evolution of the Epstein Chronicles. If you'd like to contact me, you can do that at bobbycapucci@protonmail.com. That's BOBBYCAPUCCI@protonmail.com. And if you would like to support the podcast, you can do that by clicking on the GoFundMe link in the description box. To everybody who has supported it so far and who has made donations and who has supported the work, I can't thank you guys enough. It's absolutely humbling, the outpouring of support that I have received from the listeners of the show, and it is being put to good use. Your boy is going to Santa Fe. Things are already locked in, and not only am I going to do the podcast, I will have a written report on that as well, an article, a full article form, and that will be posted on the Facebook page, Icarus News for sure. And I got some other things in the works about a private, a personal webpage, et cetera, et cetera. But that is all coming up in the second week of January. I'm going to be down in Santa Fe for 4 days, and I'm going to see what I can uncover, because there is so much enabling going on that it's not even funny. And there's no way we can trust the media to report all of this stuff, right? This is stuff that was reported in 2011 by the Daily Beast, and we've heard nothing else about it. Why isn't Katie Couric being blown up in the media? Why isn't George Stephanopoulos being blown up in the media? Anyone else? Woody Allen, we all know what he is. But instead, they're all protected because they all circle the wagons around each other. It's them, the very few of them, the small percentage of them, against the rest of us, folks. I don't care if you're a Republican, if you're a Democrat, if you're independent, if you're a communist, if you're a hardcore right authoritarian. It does not matter. It's these very few elite versus the rest of us. If we don't worry, if we're worried about focusing on each other and the differences between the common folks, well, we're never ever going to be able to throw the shackles of these maniacs off of us. So keep that in mind when you're engaging in your partisanship. Keep that in mind with the tribalistic arguments. Now, that doesn't mean you can't agree with people that have different opinions than you. What that means is stop with the purity tests on both sides of the aisle. Stop with the you have to fit into my box or we're not friends stuff. That's BS. We're never going to get anywhere with that kind of nonsense. And especially in a case like this, as divisive as this case is, we have to come together as allies. Doesn't matter what our politics are at this point. We just have to follow the truth wherever it leads us, the evidence wherever it leads us. And I've been preaching that since the beginning of this show, and I try to do that as much as possible, because there is just no point right now. There is no point engaging in any sort of partisanship over this case, especially. But the media would love for us to just be at each other's throats and have no common ground whatsoever. So I'll tell you what, I couldn't be more thankful for all of you tuning in, all of the emails I get from people that have different political views than myself. I've had so many really good conversations with people that are basically communists almost. And I don't care. I really don't care, because at the end of the day, the topic at hand is getting these sick bastards out of our lives. Exposing these sick bastards, at the very least, exposing them for what they are. And not just with innuendo or hearsay, but stuff that has been reported on in these court files. Why do you think they want everything closed off? Why do you think they don't want any of this stuff released? Because they know how bad the optics are going to be. And once that's out there, the breadcrumbs are there, and people are going to put the pieces together, folks. All right, I hope everybody's having a great Saturday so far. I hope everybody has a great evening, and I will be back later on tonight with our usual daily drop.